I'm gonna take my sip of coffee and shut up, and you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, sounds good. So, welcome to Horns in the Air podcast, brought to you by Cult of Metal, in partnership with Cult of Metal. Today we're doing a new format of the show. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's a podcast. Just very
We podcasted now.
specifically
We're audio. We're trying a few
audio
things.
only.
Yeah, he's Gabe and I'm RJ, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is Gabe. This is Gabe
Yeah.
of Savage Destruction, and my co-host RJ.
How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great, actually. It's a good day today. The sun is shining here, and we got
Oh, it
good
ain't
weather
here,
down
man.
in Arizona, and so I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling it. Sipping on my drink and just taking some time to talk about metal today.
Nice.
And what it does.
Well, before we,
How?
oh my bad.
Oh no,
Um,
go for it.
no, all I was saying is that yeah, I'm feeling that. The sun's not out here, but that's okay because that's how I like it. We actually got snow yesterday, which was cool up in Chicago. Yeah.
Whoa, snow in Chicago. That's crazy. That scares me to even think about that cold of weather.
There's gonna be it's gonna be a lot soon. But that's cool because I'm a winter person. I like it dark and gloomy and shit.
I
Um,
dig it. I dig it.
yeah, but I just want to start the episode off with a few announcements for everybody. Some changes are coming to our format, as you can kind of see already with the new podcast style. We wanted to move towards experimenting with a podcast style format, so you're going to see this on YouTube probably with a placeholder logo for now until we get a real one soon. And we'll still be reacting to songs. We'll still be listening to submissions, obviously. For this episode, we're going to cool with that because we're just going to take some time to kind of vibe out and try out this new feel. But if people are liking it and we like the idea of us doing something like this to keep the quality up, we can move forward and start incorporating song reactions, reacting to submissions. Reacting to submissions and stuff. And the second big piece I want to share is that we're also going towards would be semi-weekly, bi-weekly, once every 2 weeks for shows. So instead of it being every Saturday, we're going to aim for probably every other Saturday. Don't take Saturday too seriously.
Yeah,
sometime on the
exactly.
weekend, you
right.
know.
Sometime on the weekend, and there might even be occasional 3-week passes too, depending, because again, it's about we're just wanting to have enough content to actually put it out there and be worthwhile for y'all to be listening to. And so when our cupboards run dry or whatever, we might take an extra week off for that. But we're aiming for every 2 weeks. We're aiming for every 2 weeks to do our thing.
So we're interested in
anything else
hearing,
with that?
No, just that we're interested in hearing feedback from you guys. If you vibe with what we're doing, we're really doing this to try to get you a higher quality show. Hopefully you can hear already that, audio quality is good and we're sounding a lot better. Things are leveled nicely. And also the plus of us putting this in podcast form is we can distribute it to other platforms if we end up going that route. So yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And that's my
please
soapbox,
do.
So.
Please do. No, I mean, the feedback is critical because we've been just winging it in terms of our technology, in terms of how to get the show done. And so your feedback is key to how, your feedback will help design how the show is created. So please don't be afraid to shout out to either of us in Discord about what you think about the show. But now done with that, let's get this show a little bit started. So I wanted to first start off with a pretty just big, bold topic of, how has COVID affected metal in general, or how it's affected you in general too, and in terms of just how we live, how we do it. Because for me, it's been tricky. I'm late to get vaxxed, and it's not because I'm an anti-vaxxer, but because I did have I had an allergic reaction to a different vaccination earlier in my life, and so right now I'm still waiting for my second shot. But it's been brutal to be inside with no shows. there was, I saw cattle decapitation. They got stuck in Australia when they were on tour, which is crazy.
Was
And
that
I'm
around the
actually,
outbreak, or is that like recently?
yeah, that was around the outbreak. They
Okay,
like
yeah.
started their Death Atlas tour there and then ended up getting stuck there because of the COVID. I
I remember that
believe. I
happening to
could be
like
wrong, but
Rings of Saturn and Enterprise Earth. They almost got trapped in Europe because they were about to like not let them, like they were on like that last plane out of there before they shut down and wouldn't have let them leave. You know?
right, right. Well, and so that's the big thing for cattle decap. This is actually news that I want to put forth is they're actually starting their U.S. tour right now, which I am so excited for because they haven't toured Death Atlas in the U.S. and they toured it everywhere else, and they're actually coming through here. I already got tickets for Phoenix in fucking February. I am so pumped on that because I kind of think Cattle Decap sits as like kings of the throne room of death metal,
Oh
of
yeah,
at
yeah.
least of I don't even they're like kind of old school death metal, but they're
They're,
not.
they're keeping it in the modern eye though. You know?
Right, right. And I mean, I just think that their production is unmatched. I feel like, Dave McGraw on drums is just brutal and he's pretty much unmatched. Not unmatched, but he is one of the best in terms of the drummers. I love their guitar styles of how all over the place they are with how they stylistically do guitar. It's not um uh just like chug 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 stuff. Like they
Right,
they
right.
get weird with it and they go into different genres, even though with the drums being how they are, they maintain being um death metal,
Oh yeah.
so that's crazy. I mean, for me, yeah, there just hasn't been any shows going on, or I haven't been able to get to any shows that I've wanted to, and tours have been canceled. I think it's been really good for bedroom musicians, actually. I think that there's a lot of projects going on right now that uh, wouldn't be happening otherwise if the COVID thing. I mean, I even
I will
feel
say
Raises
as yeah.
project, like got a boost by being COVID era or whatever.
There's
But
definitely more
maybe
eye towards like remote stuff, and like as a bedroom musician myself, right? Um, See, I work in an office usually, and having that switch to remote work means I'm always like I have more time to just turn my attention to music, which is good and bad because it's like I feel that I start to feel more of that like I guess artist burnout, right? Because you're always working in a
mhm,
sense. Like you're
mhm.
always if you're not working, you're thinking about work because you could be working because your studio is right there, 5 feet from your bed, right? So it's
Right.
yeah,
Well, and it punishes me. I mean, that's the thing is I'm kind of at a burnout point. I was extremely prolific with my recording in this past year. I mean, I honestly think that I've laid down something like 30 tracks in the past 12 months. But now I can't finish any of them. I mean, they're all like of very close to being an album worthy, but the mixes need help, and there's also vocals that need to be recorded.
yeah,
Um, but I've hit a wall with some of my stuff just because I'm tired of hearing it. To be honest, I need to take a step away from it to be able to come back into it. But then it's hard because it's like, oh, what else am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I'm stuck inside. It's not really party time yet,
yeah.
and so I want to work, but then I don't know. It's hard, but that's why we're also doing this podcast is a way to even just burn off some energy like that, and
Yeah, and like have a different creative outlet, right? Because it's good to have
exactly.
multiple avenues for when one pipe gets clogged, you just kind of go down the other one for a little bit. I didn't mean for that to sound that dirty. That's,
Oh, hey,
you
that's
know.
how it goes. We live in a dirty world.
hmm
Um, so, do you have any? What projects have you been working on? Like,
I
because you were
just
part of that
finished.
Raise the Altar thing, right?
Yeah, I actually just finished a collab with Raze. I was on the
Sick.
custodian track with a bunch of other vocalists, and I did some recent stuff with Slave as well, and have just been, for now, kind of taking a step back and working on my technique and just practicing a lot harder.
Sick.
I have really like exploded in my time spent developing my voice over the quarantine, right? Because of the time I've had. And so I
Totally.
recorded a few things and now I'm like, all right, it's time to kind of hit the training room again. And we're there in the in between before we come back to our next project, which maybe I should keep on the down low for now, but is very
Right.
soon, like right around the corner.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait for that to be coming out.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for people that are getting started with their vocals at all? Like any basic directions, any like even where to go
I mean, I'd
on
say
Discord or anything like that?
I could plug a few Discords, but I think there's two important things, right? The first one is to just always be, like, if you talk to most guys, like old heads, right, or older school guys who've been doing this for a long time, they'll tell you practice, 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 which, yes, that's very important. But I'll build on that. I'll elaborate on that a little bit further in a couple ways. You got to kind of keep your head like where you want it. And that means not only be practicing every day, but not mindlessly practicing every day. Like, make sure you're seeing tangible improvement day to day. And also don't be afraid to lose progress sometimes if it means having to relearn things and get things more steady, right? And I think the things that are going to help you keep those habits up are twofold. One is to not overdo yourself, which is a bad habit I have because I'm very obsessive sometimes and I'll spend hours, right, working on shit until I blow my voice out. And then that fucks me in the long run because now I have to wait to recover. Whereas if I keep it to 30 minutes to an hour max a day, I can just go sustainably and I don't have to take rest days, or at least, not as often, right? The second one,
That's
though,
great. I mean, I
is-
think that even goes with guitar too.
yeah,
Is
I
is
wanted to
just-
ask because I'm purely a vocal guy, right? I have interest in
Right.
learning guitar, but my guitar has been collecting dust in my closet, unfortunately. But what's interesting is so about learning guitar, right? Like, I know some people will mention just hitting guitar for fucking just ridiculous amounts of hours a day, right? With vocals, you really can't do that because Justin Bonnet's, who's the vocalist for Tala and Hungry Lights, he has an analogy I really like where he says that your voice is like a guitar, but you can never change the strings. Ever. Like, you're stuck with the same set of strings. And so you have to take really good care of them because if they break, you're fucked. Like, you can't come back from that.
Right, you're done. Well, that's what. Well, it happened to James Hetfield, and he like kind of came back. But if you
thing is,
like
it
listen
changes
to
you
how
forever.
how he sings now, he never will hit how he was able to hit before. But he was supposedly technically singing wrong or not singing safely. But I do got to say, it sounded really fucking badass in the early days. But no, I mean, it's true that, he blew out his voice, and now live, hearing how he sings the old songs is kind of almost like not a falsetto, but a false, like a pseudo way of singing the lines, especially the high hard parts or whatever, which is too bad. But it's true. You got to protect your voice. I like that axiom a lot, actually. I'd never heard that, but it makes perfect sense because it's true. With guitar, you can go and thrash on it and be an idiot on your guitar and play it over hard, and doing stupid like that. But the guitar will be fine, your strings will be fucked, but get them off, get a new one, as long as you're not bashing it. Well, guitars are surprisingly robust from my experience. Like,
I will say,
I'm not a fan of the idea of breaking guitars, but it's a lot harder than one would think to break a guitar. That's all I have to say with that.
I will actually say, when it comes to like breaking your voice, the point for me that resonates is like when you're tired. I feel like because it's a physical activity, like very physical, you don't learn as well. It's like overworking yourself at the gym. As far as permanent damage goes, that usually happens and this is the advice I give. So I help teach sometimes, right? And the advice I usually give to people who I'm teaching is, look, your voice, yes, you have to take care of your voice. Yes, if you permanently damage your voice, it's irreversible. Like, if you get nodules, those don't go away, and surgery would change the characteristics of your voice forever. However, right, from permanent damage, below that, your voice is actually a lot more resilient than you might think. Because, I mean, think about it, right? We talk and use our voices every single fucking day.
All the time. Right? All the time.
All the time. And I'm sure everyone, even if you're not a vocalist, right, you can relate to this. You had days where you're talking a lot. So I used to teach. Like, before I got really into vocals, right, I used to teach. I taught after school classes at, like, elementary schools that, like, it would intro to computer programming, like, with this thing called
nice.
I don't fucking remember. It was a program that was like a drag and drop thing. Scratch? I think it's called Scratch. Anyways, so I'm teaching like third graders and fifth graders, which means I have to yell sometimes or talk loudly.
Right.
At the very least, I have to project my voice across the classroom, right? I'd come home from teaching and my voice would be a bit lower, right? Like maybe a little airy or dry, and you know, I wouldn't know that at the time, but that's vocal fold swelling. And that's what people get afraid of when they practice metal vocals or even singing, right? And that's what the singing teachers say, oh, that's really bad. The truth is, your voice will experience various degrees of wear and fatigue all the time and heal from it like it's nothing. The difference is when you go on tour, right? And you're going every single day, past
night.
fatigue, and then you mix in drugs or alcohol or even just yelling a lot with poor technique.
Just lack of sleep, and then having to talk, having to talk to fans,
loudly at the venue,
people throughout all of it. But yeah, so
that is what
with that
breaks your voice. And the thing
is,
that's
what breaks your voice. That is what breaks.
And think about it this way, right? The fact that it takes that to do that is kind of impressive because, like, compared to any muscle,
it is.
Right? People get injured doing a bad lift at the gym, right? But take any muscle and you give it the same treatment. You just pound it past its fucking limits day after day after day after day forever, right? Like for weeks at a time. Tell me what muscle or system in your body wouldn't break down under that treatment, right?
Right. So, well, they all do. I mean, that's the thing. But that's what's impressive about the human body is that it is able to bounce back from even the worst punishment. You know, most of the worst punishment that you can at least self-inflictedly do. But and even your voice even continues to develop with a certain amount of punishment. But you're right. It does have a breaking point. You know.
Yeah, that breaking point just is a lot farther than most people realize, and so it's not always like you shouldn't be afraid of seeing your voice get tired from certain treatment, right? As long as this is what people say.
Well, that's
the term,
like good.
Know your
that's
limits,
like your muscles.
Right?
That's like your muscles being sore after a hard workout. You know,
kind of,
that's exactly the similar thing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's something that I have to kind of like when I'm teaching people vocals, I have to get into them because a lot of people, like a lot of guys who get started, they are afraid to be loud, right? Or they're afraid to push themselves.
I'm afraid to be loud in my own house. It's not about like me being loud. It's about worrying about the neighbors, which is silly.
I mean that's another piece to it. But like some people,
but it's true. No, you have to be loud if you want to be a metal vocalist. You have to be loud. Like that's one of the hardest things. I mean, because I don't teach that stuff at all. But like I've listened into a few sessions here or there. And even myself, when I, first started, because I have like a decent growl, but my biggest issue to getting to that growl is allowing myself to be loud. That's it. Like
that's the other thing is like there's the psychological. Well, they're both psychological, but it's for different reasons. For some people, they just are never used to using their voice at a proper volume. And I mean, learning to sing helps that. Other times it's what you're describing where you're like, I want my neighbors to hear me. Dude, bro, I had the security guard in my apartment knock on my door when I was in the middle of a fucking practice session once because somebody complained about me. And the dude, he's like this fucking old dude. He's like, I thought she was turning into a demon. And I'm like, yeah, that's the idea.
That is the idea. That is the goddamn idea. Goddamn right. Yes, I am turning into a demon. That's for sure.
It was fucking great. Really embarrassing, but it was funny. But that's the thing. It's like once you do that a few times, then you're over it. You're like, well, whatever. Because I gotta get on a stage and do this. So it's like fucking yeah.
Exactly. I mean that's where when I get into my groove with my voice or whatever, it's because like, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit tipsy or something like that, to like
Yeah.
let go of that psychological aspect of like, am I being too loud? Like, but the reality is if you're doing it right, you're actually not being tremendously loud. You're
It
just
depends. You can go
projecting,
as loud
know.
as you can go fucking loud if you want to. You don't have to be at the top of your
Right. Well, you don't
volume.
have to. Right. That's the
Yeah.
whole thing. Is you can have a really decent false chord that doesn't have it isn't all about volume. And I think,
Yeah, and the truth is, like, there's no standard to this kind of shit, right?
no,
So
no, there's
everyone's
not. It's
different in
what
that
you
regard.
do. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's true. It is true. And well, but I feel like it produces different types of voices, because if you're
it
like going
does.
like all out, that wasn't all out, by the way. But
No.
if you're going all out, like it's gonna have certain distortions to it that if you're just trying to execute like a classic false chord, that is just all.
Yeah,
I
I mean, my
forget.
vocals won't work below a certain volume, right? And then a lot,
Right.
like,
Well, and
yeah.
that's the thing. That is the thing with that. That's interesting. That's interesting. So are you looking forward to any shows right now?
I'm
Like,
not, so, man, I'm kind of still fucked up about the last one, because I haven't seen a show since quarantine, but the problem was I was going to see Signs of the Swarm, one of my favorite bands, and also, I met,
hey,
um, sorry, that burp just like threw me
no,
off.
that was fine.
I met some guys from a local band. Well, local. They're from here. They're not really a local band anymore. They're touring all. They're called Hive, and I met them at a venue here, and they were super cool dudes. And they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna be playing at the show with Signs," and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, I want to see Signs, and now I can see you guys too." And I didn't get a chance to go because I learned the venue was 2 hours away by car. I don't have a car. So I was like, my options were Uber both ways, and I kind of said fuck it. And
That's a
maybe
bit
I should have
much,
just gone.
yeah.
But it was rough, and I couldn't have asked them because they were touring, so it was like that I couldn't have really gotten a ride.
Right. Yeah. No. Totally.
Yeah, so I unfortunately had to skip that one because I live pretty well in the city, so I have to kind of wait for shows to come here. I believe Body Snatcher might be coming to a local venue soon, so I might try to go see
Yeah, but at
that.
least being in Chicago, you're pretty much guaranteed all the good acts to
no,
come
it's good
through.
because I used to be on the
is
West
the whole
Coast,
thing.
and the West Coast is fucked for tours because
Well, the
like
Pacific Northwest.
the
is
Pacific
more so
Northwest. I'm
fucked
sorry,
up,
you're right.
because
It's
the
fucked for
West
tours.
is totally great. I mean,
Yeah.
and even
For
here,
getting people
since
to
I've-
tour is what I mean. Like because it's so hard to get to the Pacific Northwest because of the
right, and
fucking
there's only
mountain
so
ranges.
many.
Right.
Yeah,
They gotta drive
places
through all
to
that.
play.
And there's not a lot of places to play outside like Seattle and Portland. So
Exactly.
most bands just skip that on tour cycles. And now that I'm in the Midwest, it's like everyone passes through here. So it's great. We
Right,
get
right.
all the
You're in
shows.
the central hub of it all. That's for sure. I mean, and I mean, for me, I have to go up to Phoenix is the whole thing. I'm down in Tucson. But Tucson does get some decent bands, and I'm kicking myself to death because 200 Stab Wounds, and I got to shout this band out super hard because they're my current favorite new death metal band. They're they're younger guys, but they're like taking the OSDM sound, but adding like newer school production to it with a few newer twists. But it's just straight caveman style. It's so good. They came here through Tucson, which I thought was so cool that they played here rather than Phoenix. But I wasn't fully vaccinated, so I missed them. But I think Slipknot just came through Phoenix, and actually that they had a bonfire there for Corey's birthday. It happened to be his birthday,
Wow.
and the back section set up a bonfire, and they had to like it ended up meaning that they couldn't play 2 extra songs at the end, but that's pretty wild for a show. And then I just got tickets, like I said, Cattle Decap on their U.S. tour. I just got tickets to see them in Phoenix. It's like an hour and a half drive from me. And then also Cannibal Corpse in March. So I've got some fucking shows lined up. I'm so excited because it's been too long, way too long.
Oh yeah. What are
And all of the
Sorry.
No, say what you're gonna say.
No, I'm moving topics a little bit, but kind of related. What are the COVID restrictions like in Arizona right now? Like, how's that all being handled? It sounds like you need a vax card to get in venues. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the only way I'm going to these shows is because they have the venues themselves have a mandatory thing.
They're
I
doing
don't
that here
on a
too,
government level, I don't know how they do it, but I mean,
I just
that's
mean
the
like
thing
what
is
you see day to
I
day
wouldn't
going
bring
around.
myself
You
I
know,
wouldn't bring myself to a show that didn't have something like that
that's fair.
because it's just not worth it, at this point in time. I mean,
Mhm.
like I think how they do it is you can either provide a negative COVID test that was
Okay,
taken
yeah.
within 72 hours of the event, or you can bring your vaccination card.
They were doing that in
Um,
New Orleans too. Weirdly, it's kind of funny. Like people were a lot more big on um masks like in establishments there, right? Than they are like
uh-huh.
here, because like we need to do it here too. But everyone in Chicago is kind of
Wear
like
your
everyone's
mask.
kind of over it.
Everyone
Yeah,
wear your mask. Like
yeah,
seriously,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
no joke. Like don't this isn't over and with if people stop wearing their masks and start feeling like complacent to like we're there already, we're never gonna get there,
Hmm.
and I'm not trying to push any sort of like main agenda at people whatsoever at all. This is just basic science, like has no politics involved from my point of view. We just need to get through this, and it's going to take a little bit of discomfort from everyone to be able to actually get to a point where it's no longer saying, oh, this is the new or whatever, like, because that's not
Hmm.
it. Like the human race has dealt with plagues before, and we're not wearing masks on an everyday basis, like once we got through those plagues or whatever. But protect yourself, protect your family, protect your friends. It's very simple. But sorry, I just had to get that
No,
off
it's
there,
fine. Yeah,
and get
to be
vaxxed
saying
if
it.
you can. Like it's not. I'm not. I'm freaked out about what type of weird reprogramming that stuff does to sound a little bit like a conspiracy person. But like I still have done it because it just needs to get
Yeah, I'm just
done.
saying I got better at vocals since I got vax, bro. It's probably the 5G giving me powers. Like,
There you go. I screw better now that I
mhm.
got my vaccination. So there you go.
My dick grew 4 inches. Yeah.
Exactly. What do you need to hear? What do you need
Yeah,
to hear? Just get
exactly.
it done. Um,
Um, I wanted to ask. I'll kick this off, but about like stuff you've been doing, maybe like other maybe non-musical related things you've been doing to keep yourself entertained, at least recently. Because I know I want to say during quarantine, but the truth is like this is just it's been so long. I almost don't consider it quarantine anymore.
right,
We just out
right.
here at this
It's
point. But
it's the new.
my new thing I'm on. I don't know if you've heard of these.
Uh-huh.
Are cave diving videos.
No, I haven't seen this. I
Oh
haven't seen
shit.
this. I'd love
Okay.
to see
I
this.
think I'm gonna have to link you a short example, just to
Well,
like.
and hopefully we'll put this in the descriptions or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah. We
that too.
can.
That's
If okay, okay.
how we
If
need
you
to
guys
do
wanna,
this.
I can't look up. Actually, yeah, I can. It's called Dylan can edit this audio out if it shows up in the recording. Um, so cave diving is when you. I'm trying to find. Here we go. 1 second. There we go. All right. So this video here. This video is called Claustrophobia Engaged. If you search up Hellhole Cave, you'll find it. It's by Brandon Gross on YouTube. It is
Mhm.
a cave diving video of this place called Hellhole. I think this is in California somewhere. So cave diving is basically when they find caves with these like really small openings, and like yeah, if you click that second video I sent you and just skip to some parts, you'll see what I mean. They have to like crawl through these extremely fucking narrow passages in these caves, and it's terrifying. Like I have zero desire to do this ever. Like fuck this. But there's something about watching this. It's like it's I don't know. I can't stop watching these. They're freaky.
It's like claustrophobia porn. Is
Pretty
what it
much,
is.
yeah.
It's,
And I'm
it's
not like
totally
traditionally.
claustrophobia porn. That's
I'm not usually
hilarious. That's
claustrophobic, but
amazing.
this makes me feel claustrophobic. Like this makes me
No,
feel
I
like
get it. I get it.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I'm seeing what you're saying. But that is hilarious. Not for me. No, thank you.
Yeah,
I
fuck
would
that.
be
Because people
spazzing
die in
out.
those caves. Like there's a horror story of this dude in the Nutty Putty. It's one of the caves in I want to say like Ohio or somewhere. He got stuck face down.
my
Like
God,
he went into a
fucking
there was like he
ridiculous.
went into this hole that like had a minor collapse because the dirt was too soft. He got stuck there upside down, and they couldn't get him out. He was wedged there, and the paramedics were trying to like get him out once they called him in to like crawl into this cave after him. But like with the way he was wedged and the way his blood was draining up to the upper side of his body, because the human body's
right.
not meant to be upside down
No,
for that
right.
long.
Right.
They couldn't move him. He fucking died in that cave, and they sealed the cave with his body still in there.
Oh my God, that is fucking metal. That is metal.
Fucking
as
crazy.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But I'm watching this, and no way, no thank you.
Yeah.
That's like I'm not claustrophobic. I don't consider myself claustrophobic, but doing what they are doing is like, literally, it's these just tight little spaces of nothing in it. That would drive me fucking crazy. But that's cool. I like that. It's very metal. I like it. I'm gonna have to go deeper into that stuff.
Yeah.
What I've been into. I know this may be stupid, but I'm into F1. I'm like super into Formula One racing. Like, cause it's basically just like 20 little death traps rolling around at 200 miles per hour, with death waiting at every corner. And I love it. All the speed, the intensity of it. They're all little princes. They're all these little fucking trust fund baby motherfuckers, which, like, you hate
life's
on it,
too
but
easy,
it's
so now
kind
we
of
gotta
funny.
like put ourselves in. I mean, that's how I feel about the game shit. They're just like,
exactly.
my life's too good. I gotta go fuck it up by putting myself in mortal danger. Yeah.
Right. Well, and so we've got the same thing. We're both looking at
People almost dying.
death porn of some in variations of styles.
Shit. I'm sorry. I just remembered, actually, speaking of death, and speaking of, this is what I want to talk about when you brought up COVID and concerts. Did you hear about the Astroworld shit?
Oh yeah, man, I did hear about that with the Travis Scott, right?
The
Travis Scott show.
For the uninformed of anybody watching right now, so Travis Scott recently had a festival called Astroworld that he headlined, basically. And I guess this was like, everyone was so... It was a combination of it being poorly managed and also like there just being so many people who were like so.
It's on Live Nation.
Big.
It's on Live Nation, and yeah, the concert goers themselves. Well, but continue what you were saying.
Basically, what happened was there was just this huge crowd of like unmanaged people who rushed the stage, basically, and people were getting like trapped and squished in this crowd, and they could not get out. I was watching videos of this like on the this morning, like recapping like footage, because like the day and age, everyone records everything, so there's a million different angles of what's going on here, and people are getting crushed and like suffocating, passing out. Like 9 people died from getting trampled. Apparently, there was either unconscious or dead person.
Teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers, like kids. Like one of them was like a 9-year-old who fucking died. Like recently, like they were like in the hospital.
Kids, and I hate that concept. I mean, I hate that happened, because that like puts the fear into the whole like, very conservative families of being like, oh, you can't go to a show. A show's not safe. Yeah. Like shows are safe. That's like the whole point. They should be. They should be fucking safe. Like, and so that's why this is such a fuck up and such a fucking tragedy too. On so many levels, because there's so many people to blame. It's not just one person to blame. Like you can't be just on Travis Scott, even though he could have stopped the music if he had heard that the paramedics were there.
Supposedly he saw the fucking body being crowd surfed up to the stage. They were either dead or unconscious. I don't know. Right. No, and I mean, but Live Nation. But that's the thing, is we can't just blame the artist. It's really on the promoter of the event. And I've been reading how security was untrained. Like they only got a day training before, for some new guys that were working there. I don't know. It was bad. But what have you heard of it? So from what I heard. So the police kind of ended up getting called there around like 9:30 at night, right? And the show didn't end till like 10:10, because they told the promoters, they're like, hey, you got to stop the show, right? There's people going down out there and like dying. And I think what they got back was like they were trying, but like how do you get 60,000 people to just fuck off in 10 minutes? Like, that doesn't really
Well, and
work.
be calm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because
Like,
you also
and-
can't be like, people
Well,
are
if you cut
dying,
the
and then you
music
cause an
off,
actual
people could
stampede.
get-
Yeah.
Well, people, you cut the music off, people could get more pissed, and
Yeah.
and start, like, when you're in that mob mentality, things get ugly really quick.
It was such a weird thing because I was seeing videos of like POVs of people like chanting, they're like, stop the show, or screaming, hey, stop the show, like large crowds doing that,
Whoa,
right?
that's
But
heavy.
even with that happening,
heavy.
there's still enough people there who are either oblivious or don't care to what's going on that's keeping them locked
I've
in
just
there,
never even
you know?
seen, I've never heard or seen of anything like that, because with all the, especially the metal shows that I go to, you get knocked down, you use like 95% of the time, you get an arm to pull you back up.
someone
You know
always
what I mean?
helps you out.
Like, it's not
It's
about
funny,
getting
I
the
remember-
shit kicked out of you. It's about, it's about the whole support and community and letting anger out, but letting it
I don't
out in
actually-
a safe way,
Yeah. I don't mosh a lot, but I was moshing in a local show when I was in Seattle once. And there wasn't a lot of people.
My days of moshing are done. My days of
Yeah.
moshing are way done. My body's too old. But
Yeah,
back in
I
the
was-
day, I'd go and get myself in the middle of a pit. I love that shit. That shit is fucking amazing.
It was one of those pits that were like, they
Better
were like
than
an
therapy.
opening. Yeah, they were like an opening band, and there wasn't a lot of people in the pit, like maybe like 8, right? And it was pretty open. It was like a lot of space, so there wasn't a lot of like, what happened, right, is I collided with some dude, and there was no one back there to catch me, so I flew straight on and landed straight on my back, and it was so funny because I got picked up so fast, I hadn't even realized I hit the ground before I was standing back up again, because someone just threw me back onto my feet. And
exactly.
it was like, they
They'll
were just on
grab
it,
you like
know?
that. Yeah, totally. And that's the way it should be. And people usually look out for each other. That's what's unfortunate with I'm not going to blame it on the genre of music or whatever, but it's interesting to see like how usually it's the pop shows that go out of control. I mean, there's always
it's because
Altamont to think
like
about,
there's
but-
no real common culture there, and like this is not me trying to sound like a snob. I love pop music, but the thing is,
Right.
like, at a show like that, right, with that many people, like metal shows, especially local shows like that, are a small subculture of people, right, where like there's a, like, when there's that few amount of people relatively who are in your scene, your underground, right, like there's more of a community aspect. But when it's just like everyone,
Right.
like going,
Right, totally.
it's like the difference between going to a mom and pop restaurant where you know the people who work there to going to a McDonald's, right? Travis Scott is McDonald's.
Totally.
All right, like,
Totally.
you go there,
Totally.
and I don't want
No,
to fucking
it's
talk
true.
to anybody in a McDonald's, you know?
I just want my product and get me the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
But if I go to a fucking mom and pop restaurant, I kind of want to meet people because it's usually people like me that are there or whatever, and and have similar ideals. But I think it's just a big fear reaction. I don't know. It's tragic.
Did I ever tell?
Like I said,
sorry.
Slipknot. Well, like Slipknot, at least a bonfire. People know where it's at or whatever. Not
Yeah, I
necessarily
mean,
the
I feel like I would
safest
have been
thing,
hearing
but
if people got like seriously injured, too. 'Cause,
Right,
I mean,
totally.
Slipknot's been, but like Slipknot's like they've been doing their shit for so long, and they know kind of what's up. And it's not that Travis Scott hasn't played a lot of concerts too, but I think this is his first time organizing a big festival like this. Plus,
Right.
the
Well,
COVID
it's-
situation made everything
all
super
of it.
sensitive.
just all of it is bad, and it's not, now is not the time to be going into like major, 30,000, however
Yeah.
big crowds. Like now's not the time to exactly do that. A few hundred, that's like okay, even though that's a little sketchy, but at least to me. But that's as far as I'm going. I'm not going to any arena shows or any like major sporting events or anything like that, because that's just too many people in one
Oh yeah.
tight spot.
Speaking of people getting injured at shows, actually, I told you the story, but I think it was during a rehearsal episode, the dying fetus with the kid who had the seizure.
Oh yeah, you did tell me about that.
I never told it for the show, actually, so I guess I can just
go
recount
for
that. So, all right, I'll make this quick because I know you've heard the story, but so
it's
Summer
all good.
Slaughter of, I don't remember what fucking year, back when Studio 7 was still open in Seattle. Anybody from the Northwest dude knows what venue I'm talking about. It was Black Dahlia Murder headlining. They were sponsoring the, actually they do that every year, but it was Black Dahlia Murder headlining, and then like Dying Fetus was like right under them on the poster, so they were like second to last, I think.
That's fucking amazing. I wish I was at that
Set
show.
list. Oh, it was an amazing show, and like Oceano Rings of Saturn was there too, which was really cool. Oh, what was that fucking band? Origin was there, and that was crazy to see them play live because that
This
like,
actually, what is your biggest metal show that you've gone to actually? Before you go into this, I've
my
been
biggest show I've been to. I went to
well,
I saw
your favorite
Slipknot
show,
headlining
your
Pain in the
favorite
Grass.
show.
Like, oh, my
Oh.
favorite show. Okay, well
Yeah,
that
your
one.
favorite show.
That's hard because I've been to a lot of really good. I haven't been to a ton of
Me
concerts,
too.
but all the
No,
ones
I
I've
know.
been to were like really good. I'd say my
I
favorite.
hear him.
I might get some shit for this because I know Jared Dines is not super popular, but it was back when Rest Repose was still a band and touring, and they did a headlining show back in Seattle in their hometown at the Funhouse, and they had For the Likes of You there as well. It was like all like local bands were like kind of in the family and stuff, and they're like known well in that scene. So For the Likes of You is Austin Dickey's band, if anyone doesn't know, and he's a super talented vocalist. So they were out touring, and this was like their home. It was the last stop of the tour was their hometown show, basically. And we're in this tiny ass fucking dive bar, right? Like stage is like they can't even fit everybody on the stage. It's so small, you know. And a super intimate show, and it was amazing. Like the turnout was great. Everyone was super excited to see all the bands. Like you could see Austin getting emotional because everyone was like fucking just so like in it for
Right.
them and the band, and that was just such a highlight because it's like those are the I mean shit fucking Austin's like one of his old ass videos is like what first taught me how to get like something semblance of a fucking scream and started me down my vocal path. So like it was super cool to see them live, and it was just like a super fucking heartwarming experience. So that one's my favorite just because of like the just how cool it was and how much it meant to everybody there was cool.
Right.
I mean, otherwise,
right.
I've been to so many great shows. I mean, like Enterprise Earth, I've seen like 3 times, and they've been amazing every time. Rings of Saturn's super fun to see live.
Right. Even though they
Signs
cheat,
of the Swarm
they
was
cheat. How did they play live? How did they do it live? Do they play well
they play
live?
live,
I've always
dude.
wondered.
play it
Wondered because they cheated on the records or whatever.
I mean, whatever. I don't know, man. Here's the way I see it. Like, people don't believe Rings of Saturn can play live, but they believe Necrophagist and Origin and Archspire. Like, I mean, you know.
I
don't
don't
see how
I mean,
it's
does
any more
Necrophagist
unrealistic.
play live though?
Oh, yeah, they do.
I don't.
I mean,
Oh,
not
do
anymore,
they?
obviously. Yeah, I got a video to send you later. If you
That's so
haven't
tragic.
seen them
That's-
live, they're crazy live. Like, because their
I mean,
sound
'cause-
is so thick.
So thick. Necrophagist is one of the best in my
Oh, yeah.
mind. I want a new album from them so bad. I was just talking about that actually, but
Yeah, I
with
don't know.
someone they need a
Maybe
new
one
album,
day.
but I don't think it's gonna happen. My favorite show was the Black Dahlia Murder opening up for Behemoth, Nile, and King Diamond.
Oh, shit.
And that was just one hell of a show because literally each band I was like 200% into, and like
Oh, yeah.
it just went off. It just went, and it was on the Miasma tour. It was the Black Dahlia Murder touring Miasma. So that was a really great period of time to check them out.
Yeah, well, I was at the show that they were headlining. I didn't actually get to see them play because we ended up leaving early because we were just so fucking burnt. We were there all day, and that was the same show with the incident. So it was like, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for us because we were like, all right, we're just going to go, And this is also before I got into them. Hindsight being what it is, I wish I'd stuck around, but oh well. I'll get a chance to see them some other day, I think.
Yeah, well, they just finished their U.S. tour, which I missed, but I wasn't gonna do that without being vaccinated. And they're doing their European tour right now with Rings of Saturn and who was it? I forget the other band, but that'll be a great European tour, UK European tour.
By the way, the incident, which I almost forgot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was, Dying Fetus is set. Right, so we're at Studio 7 in Seattle. If anyone's ever been to that venue before, there's a overhang kind of thing, like an upstairs that a lot of venues have, but this one's supported by some big ass pillars that go down to the lower level where the pit usually is and people stand. And I always remember standing there looking at those pillars being like, man, someone's gonna fucking crack their head on that, right? Because it's always where the pit breaks out.
Right.
We're standing more towards the back, and it's dark underneath that overhang. Like, you can't see shit. And the pit's, like, farther back underneath there, right? So I'm there with my buddy, who is an EMT, and we see somebody, like go down in the pit, right, mid-song, and, like, they're not getting up, and you're seeing a bigger crowd of people. And I look over, and someone flashes a phone light, and you see a kid seizing, and there's blood on the concrete. And we're like, oh, shit. Right. So my friend, he goes in to go see to him, right? And meanwhile, like, the pit's kind of still going on, but there's just like crowd of people around him. So then, like, me and a bunch of the other guys nearby are trying to stop the mosh pit, but the band doesn't see what's happening, and they're just still playing. Right.
They're into their thing.
So most people don't know what's going on, and so, like, I had to, like, wrestle some kid to the ground because he wasn't listening, right? Like, he didn't know what's going on. And, like, eventually, like I'm literally, like, holding this dude on the ground. I'm like, fuck off, somebody's hurt, stop, right? And he looks at me like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Eventually everyone, like, calms down, and it's like this safe zone around this kid who stopped seizing at this point.
So intense.
The band finishes the song, and then the sound guy gets on, is like, hey, we just found out somebody got hurt, there's already an ambulance almost here, hold on a sec. And they're like, what's going on? So then, like, they told everyone to back up, right? My friend, who had bought a shirt at the show, ended up using that as, like, a makeshift bandage to stop him from bleeding.
Right, or tourniquet, yeah.
Yeah, he fell and cracked his head, was what happened.
Hey. Oh,
and,
shit, man.
Yeah, he just hit his head too hard, and so they took him out in the ambulance. And so then he went out with the paramedics to go, like, fill them in, and I was waiting by the door of the venue for him to come back, right? Band starts playing again. And so then after, like, 20 minutes, he comes back. I look past him, and I see outside. The kid's fine. He's awake, and he's got a bandage on his head. He's just looking around like, oh, what happened, right? So my buddy comes up to me, and he's like, well, I lost my shirt because he kept the shirts covered in blood.
Right.
And I'm like, so, but he's like, I'm like, what happened? And he goes, yeah, so I met his mom out there. I asked her, I said, ma'am, is your son epileptic? And she's like, yeah. Has he been taking his medication? No. Was he drinking tonight?
Right.
Yeah. He hit his head on the ground. He's like, well, it was bound to happen.
That'll happen. Yeah.
At that point, we'd been there for like 7 hours because it was like an all-day thing, right? Wow. And we were just so fucking tired, and that was it. So we were just like, "You want to just go home?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
I call it a day. Yeah,
so we just
call it a day at that point. Yeah, that's totally true. Well, so I'm gonna wind it down here, because just for this first show, especially since we don't have any content that we're going over, but I just want to wind it down with what would be your favorite show if you could pick 3 bands to play a show? What 3
bands that are still together, or
no? They can be any band, anytime.
Ooh, okay, hold up. I'm gonna go with. This is like First Energy.
Right.
Alright. I'm going to also cheat a little bit. I'm going to pick a band that's technically a studio band as well. But I'm going to go with Myrlor headlining with Writhe, which is a black and deathcore band that I just absolutely loved. And I don't think they're together anymore. They had insane potential. I will link one of their EPs in Discord later for anyone to check that out. And then Bog Wraith, who's also a black and deathcore band that I think are fantastic, and I kind of have them in the same sort of point. Like, Writhe and Bog Wraith are some of my 2 favorite bands of all time, and Myrlor is awesome. That's Dan Watson's side project, and I feel like that would be like, that would complete that, like, trifecta, you know, so.
Fuck yeah. That's great. I think mine would be kind of poppy. I'd probably go Black Dahlia Murder, Infant Annihilator, and Dying Fetus. But that's just today. But that's how I would go with that one. Just pure brutality on all of that front, kind of in a death OSDM style or new school DM style, however you want to put it. Well, right on, RJ. It's been great fucking talking to you today, and gonna wrap this up. This has been Horns in the Air. And brought in partnership with Cult of Metal. And you got anything else to say besides goodbye?
No. Shouts out to Cult of Metal for helping give us a platform, and thanks to everybody who's sticking around and enjoying listening to us be assholes. Please give us your feedback, right? And then for next episode, we're looking to hopefully get back into looking at submissions. So if you have stuff or you have friends you want to show their stuff, point them our way.
Submit.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.